Dear students, during this lecture I will show you a few examples of research practices. They will demonstrate that calculations are fine, but they must be in a certain context, which means that calculations or measurements themselves do not play a role unless there is a certain environment. So, how to get data from and how to get knowledge from those data? These will be issues we will solve today. So, we have to start with a certain problem specification, because you have to specify not only the problem itself, which is this, I call it leitmotif, but also what in this scope you would like to measure and how. So this will be the problem of ours today. And you have to ask yourself, are those methods you know good ones, appropriate, or can you or must you ask someone for its or his or her help? And naturally sometimes you will be in the need of a new method and you have to develop it. I will also show such an example today. And finally, which is very important, and it's the key of such analysis, is good interpretation what you have got. Because in the end you will get set of graphs or functions or numbers, and what do they mean? So the question is how to interpret, because not only you will interpret it, someone else is also, and his or her interpretation can be different. So what we in principle do, I will slightly repeat what I have done in my previous lecture. So first we do certain qualitative analysis in the beginning. We start with current knowledge and some facts which are publicly known, and we try to create a research hypothesis. Question what to do. Then, once we have the hypothesis, we can try to verify it, which means mostly we do quantitative analysis. We go from hypothesis to new piece of knowledge. But, as I told you, new piece of knowledge must be interpreted. What is new in it and why you think it as something new and useful. So our first example will show a work of my diploma student who was measuring or trying to measure penetration of e-government in governance in Slovakia. Her name was Daniela Mitoshinkova, and the research is quite old. It was done in 2009-2010, but what was very important is that this research nicely shows how the individual steps can be done and what are obstacles on this way. So the main question was, how intensively does Slovak e-government exploit electronic communication with its citizens? So the question is very, very general, because you have to realize that the communication can be quite complex, and on one end, in the very beginning, this is just information. The government or local authority refers something to the citizens. Then are one-way transaction, which means there are some documents which say do this and this and we will respond to that, which means that citizens can download a form and then apply it and send it to the office. Sending by the email or electronic means is two-way interaction. So this presumes that only one part of the process is done electronically. Here, both parts are done. Third is transaction, which means that not only you send the request, but also the request entirely will be done electronically. So this is like when you do e-banking. Yeah? You ask for something, bank performs and informs you about the transaction. And transaction is completed because both sides agree it's done properly. You agree, bank agrees. And finally, in the last case, which is still rather new, means that there is some targetization. For example, when you buy a car, the company will inform you after 2 years or 1 year it's time to come for checking. Yeah? So they already in advance foresee your needs. So this is the traditional, and it's done by European Union. This is standard measure of quality of electronic services specified by European Union. So our first idea, let's take this and try to measure how Slovak e-government does it. Then the question was, what level of government? Because naturally, yes, in every country you have government of the entire state and then local municipal authorities. So, and we concentrated on Slovakia, and then what is very important, you have to look to other research done before, what was investigated and what was not. If something was not investigated, this is a good field for doing your research exactly in this field, because then the element of originality I mentioned will certainly be present. When we look to Slovakia, we see that there is a level of state, then we have 8 regions in the country, which are further separated to 73 districts, and finally to approximately 5,000 towns and villages. So our first question was, which of these levels to target? What we have found that there was already a lot of research on the level of state, so we excluded state. Okay, this will not be interesting. Then 8 regions are sort of too few regions. So we said, okay, we will orient ourselves to those larger communities, which was consisting of either 73 districts, then we could investigate potentially all of them, or 5,000 towns and villages, and naturally it's impossible to do it. So we have to do some sampling, decide which are, I would say, good representatives of the community. Then we decided, okay, we will go to, this is very personal decision, and you will have to do some personal decision by yourself as well in the future. So we decided to go for districts, and we say there is a reasonable number of districts, but to measure them and compare them, they should be equal. Meaning equal is very specific because it can mean more or less anything. So we say, okay, some districts are part of larger cities. The city is divided to parts which are having privileges of districts, like Bratislava, Nitra, and so on. And then they cannot be compared with a district which is in a rural area in further Slovakia. So we say, okay, we will take only 63 which are not part of those big cities and are not divided in other way. So they are sort of pure districts. And we, sorry, it's 58, not 63, so this is a mistake. There are, take 58 those centers, and what they can do, 58 is a reasonably good number, We can investigate all. It gives us very good picture of situation in Slovakia, and also we can do intensive investigation in each of those towns. Better saying, the student took websites of all those 58 districts and were analyzing them, what is in their content. And this is the end of part 1.